My phone rang at 2:03 a.m. My mother didn't ask how I was. She didn't say hello. She said, "Tomorrow don't speak unless spoken to. And whatever you do, don't tell them what you really do." I should have known then that the dinner wasn't about celebrating my brother. It was about hiding me. But what my family didn't know was that one man at that table had already seen me before, in a courtroom, and by the end of that night, he was going to say my name out loud and destroy every lie they ever told about me. My name is Amara Hayes. I'm 34 years old. And this is the story of the night my family tried to erase me and accidentally handed me the moment that changed everything. Growing up invisible. I grew up in a small town called Ridgefield, the kind of place where everyone knows your business, but somehow never knows the truth. My mother, Evelyn Hayes, had 2 children, but if you listened to her talk, you'd think she only had one. Daniel. Daniel the charming. Daniel the golden boy. Daniel who could do no wrong. And me? I was background noise. I remember being 7 years old, standing in our living room. There was a shelf above the fireplace. 5 framed photos of Daniel. Baseball, birthday, school awards, church choir, family vacation. And then there was me. 1 picture, half hidden behind a vase, like something you weren't supposed to notice. The achievement that didn't matter. At 17, I graduated second in my class. I looked out into the crowd, and my mother wasn't there. She was at Daniel's baseball game. He didn't even play that day. He sat on the bench. But she still chose him. I got a full scholarship, then law school. Then I built my career from nothing. No money from home, no support, no recognition. And still, every Sunday I called. Every holiday I showed up, because part of me kept hoping, maybe this time she'll see me. The life she pretended didn't exist. For 8 years, I worked as a litigation attorney in D.C. Federal cases, civil rights, the kind of work where you fight for people whose voices get ignored. People like me. 5 months before that dinner, I stood in a federal courtroom, nervous, prepared, focused, and I argued one of the biggest cases of my career. The judge listened, really listened, and when it ended, he walked up to me and said, "That was one of the sharpest arguments I've heard this year." I didn't tell my mother, because I already knew what she'd say. That's nice. Then she'd changed the topic to Daniel. The call that changed everything. Then came the call. 2 a.m. My heart dropped when I saw her name. "Mom, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," she said coldly. "Tomorrow night, dinner, your brother's fiancé's family is coming." "Okay." Then she paused and said the words I'll never forget. "Just don't embarrass us." Then she added, "If they ask what you do, tell them you work in an office." An office. 8 years of law school. Courtrooms. Victories. Reduced to an office. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel hurt. I felt curious. The drive. The next evening, I drove 2 hours home. And the whole way, something didn't sit right. Why hide me? Why lie? What was she so afraid of? The setup. When I arrived, everything looked perfect. Too perfect. Fancy table. Perfect lighting. Assigned seating. And mine, at the very end of the table, almost out of sight. My mother pulled me aside like I was a liability. "Don't talk too much. Don't mention law. Don't sit near the judge." That's when I froze. Judge? Yes, she said. Her father is a federal judge. And suddenly, everything clicked. The moment everything shifted. Because 5 months earlier, I stood in front of a federal judge. And his name was Judge Robert Callahan. They walk in. The door opened, and he walked in. Same posture, same sharp eyes, and the moment he saw me, he paused. Amara Hayes, he said slowly. And in that moment, I knew. He remembered me. And more importantly, he knew something wasn't right. The dinner begins. My mother started performing, talking nonstop, praising my brother, interrupting me, redirecting every conversation, like I didn't exist. But the judge noticed, his wife noticed, his daughter noticed, and then he started asking questions, careful ones, precise ones, the kind that don't sound dangerous, until they are. You've been in D.C. how long? 8 years. Working in administration? I looked at him. He looked at me. And in that silent moment, we both understood. The turning point. Then my brother laughed and said, "She always thought she was smarter than everyone." The table went quiet. And that's when the judge picked up his glass, tapped it gently, and said, the sound of the glass being tapped cut through the room like a blade. Every fork stopped, every voice died, even my mother froze. Judge Callahan sat back slightly in his chair. Calm, controlled, the kind of calm that makes people nervous. "I'd like to say something," he repeated. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried authority. My mother smiled quickly, trying to take control. "Oh, of course, Judge." He raised a hand, just slightly, and she stopped talking. That had never happened before. Not once in my life had anyone ever stopped her mid-sentence. His eyes moved across the table, then settled on me. "Miss Hayes," he said slowly, "have we met before?" The question landed heavy, because everyone at that table already knew the answer, except the one person who built the lie. My mother let out a soft laugh. "Oh, I don't think so. Amara just works in an office." "Patricia!" He said her name without looking at her. And it wasn't rude. It was worse. It was final. "No," he continued, still looking at me. "I'm quite certain we have." My heartbeat was loud in my ears, but my voice, steady. "Yes, Your Honor." The room shifted. Not visibly, but you could feel it. My brother frowned slightly. My mother's smile tightened. Judge Callahan leaned forward, elaborate, and for the first time that night, no one interrupted me. "We met 5 months ago," I said, "in the Eastern District courtroom." Silence. "You presided over a civil rights case," I continued. "I was lead counsel." The word hit the table like a dropped plate. Lead counsel. My mother's fork slipped from her hand. A sharp clink echoed in the silence. "That's correct," the judge said calmly. Then he turned very slowly toward my mother. "And if I recall correctly," he added, "she didn't just participate." He paused. "Let it sit. Let it breathe. She won." The silence turned suffocating. Nora's eyes widened. Margaret sat completely still, watching everything. My brother blinked like his brain was buffering. And my mother? She looked at me like she was seeing a stranger. That's not," she started, But the judge continued. One of the most precise arguments I've heard in years, he said. Clear, structured, impossible to ignore. Every word he spoke peeled away another layer of the story my mother had built. You're an attorney, Margaret said softly, looking at me. Yes. How long? She asked. 8 years. 8 years. 8 years of silence, collapsed into 2 words. My brother leaned forward. Wait, you're a lawyer? I looked at him, really looked at him. You never asked. That hit harder than anything else. The crack in the family image. My mother tried to recover. You could see it happening in real time. Well, she never really talks about it, she said quickly. She's always been very private. I almost laughed. But before I could say anything, Margaret spoke. No, she said gently. She hasn't been given the chance. That landed hard, because now it wasn't just me. Someone else saw it. Someone else said it. Out loud. The final question. Judge Callahan picked up his glass again. But this time, he didn't drink. He looked directly at my mother. Why? He asked calmly. Would you ask your daughter to hide something like that? No anger, no accusation, just a question. And somehow, that made it worse. My mother opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I just didn't want her to overshadow Daniel, she said finally. There it was, the truth, ugly, simple, real. The room shifted again, but this time, there was no going back. The moment of realization. Nora slowly turned toward my brother. You knew? She asked. He hesitated. I mean, it just never came up. That was enough. Margaret leaned back slightly, studying him now, the same way she had studied the room all night. And suddenly, the spotlight wasn't on me anymore. It was on them, my moment. I reached for my glass, took a slow sip, set it down carefully, and for the first time that night, I spoke without hesitation. I wasn't hiding, I said. I was being hidden. No one interrupted, no one redirected, because now they couldn't. No one went back to eating. The food sat untouched. Perfect plates, perfect presentation, and a completely broken illusion. My mother tried to smile again, tried to pull the night back together. Well, this is just a misunderstanding, she said, voice tight. Amara has always been modest. No one responded, not even my father. For the first time in my life, the silence in that room wasn't protecting her. It was exposing her. The shift. Nora slowly placed her napkin on the table. Not dramatic, not loud, just final. She looked at me first, not with pity, not even with shock, with respect. You argued in federal court? She asked softly. Yes. And you won? Yes. She nodded once, then turned to my brother. You told me you were the most driven person in your family. Daniel let out a small laugh. Nervous. I mean, yeah, I am. No, she said quietly. You're not. That hit harder than anything the judge said, because it didn't come from authority. It came from truth. The judge speaks again. Judge Callahan leaned forward slightly, hands folded, voice calm. Character isn't what you say about yourself, he said. It's what the people closest to you are forced to hide. Every word landed like a verdict. My mother's eyes filled with something between anger and panic. "This is supposed to be a celebration," she snapped. "Why is everyone attacking my family?" And for the first time, I answered her. "No one is attacking us," I said. "They're just finally seeing us." The break. My father shifted in his chair. For 34 years, he had said nothing. But now, he spoke. "She paid for the roof," he said quietly. The room froze. My mother turned to him, shocked. "What?" she whispered. "The storm," he continued, still not looking at anyone. "She paid for it. Hired the contractor. Covered everything." I closed my eyes for a second. Not because I was overwhelmed, but because after all these years, someone finally said it. My mother shook her head. "That's not—" "Yes, it is," he said. And just like that, her version of reality cracked completely. The final choice. Nora stood up. "I need some air," she said. Daniel stood quickly. "I'll come with you." "No," she said. That one word, it ended everything. She looked at him, really looked at him. "You let them lie," she said. "You let them erase her." He didn't respond, because there was nothing to say. Then she turned to me. "I'm glad I met you," she said. And I knew she meant the real version of me, not the one my family created. The exit. Judge Callahan stood next. So did Margaret. "Thank you for dinner," Margaret said politely. But her eyes were on me. Not my mother, not the table. Me. Judge Callahan gave a small nod. "Counselor," he said. One word, but it meant everything. Then they walked out, and just like that, the performance ended. Aftermath. The house felt different, quieter, smaller. My mother sat down slowly, like all the energy had left her body. "You embarrassed us," she said. But her voice didn't have power anymore. I stood up. Calm. Clear. "No," I said. I stopped pretending. She looked at me, really looked at me, for what felt like the first time in her life. But it was too late. The realization. I picked up my bag, walked toward the door. "Amara," she said. I stopped, but I didn't turn around. For years, I thought I needed her to see me, to acknowledge me, to choose me. But standing there, I realized something. I didn't need to be chosen anymore. I already built a life without her, a career without her, a name without her. And tonight, that name finally spoke for itself. Final scene. I stepped outside. The night air was cold, quiet. For the first time in years, my chest felt light. My phone buzzed. A message, unknown number. I opened it. "If you ever consider clerkship recommendations or federal opportunities, feel free to reach out. R. Callahan." I stared at the screen, then smiled. Not because I needed the opportunity, but because for the first time, someone saw me and said it out loud. Some families build stories, some build illusions. Mine did both. But that night, with one question and one truth,